The election campaigning is in full swing in India as PM Narendra Modi seeks a third term in office in the upcoming Lok Sabha polls. Amidst this high political frenzy, Newsweek magazine has done a 90-minute interview of PM Narendra Modi. Not only this, PM Modi has also become the first Indian Prime Minister after late Indira Gandhi to be featured on Newsweek magazine cover. So, in this interview, the PM has talked about key issues and topics. In this video, we will try to dissect this entire interview. Reiterating his iconic motto, Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas, Sabka Vishwas, Sabka Prayas, PM Modi reminded that his government has an excellent track record of fulfilling promises. Quoting, by the end of the second term, even the most popular governments start losing support. Discontent towards government has also increased in the last few years in the world. This is a reference to how several global leaders have been losing trust in their countries, a trend which was seen throughout the world. For instance, how Donald Trump had lost the US presidential elections against Joe Biden, especially after questions were raised on former's COVID management. On the other hand, Indian government's COVID management and response actions were acclaimed both domestically and globally. So, PM Modi subtly hinted in his answer that what happened to Trump or other leaders will definitely not happen with him. He will come back to office and with greater vote share. This question is the favorite of Western media houses and publications, and as expected, PM Modi once again answered in his usual zeal. PM Modi stated that India is the mother of democracy. He referenced Uttara Merur in Tamil Nadu, where one can find India's democratic values from 1100 to 1200 years ago. He even goes on to mention Indian scriptures to validate his point on democracy. Coming on to the question of media, he mentioned how India has around 1.5 lakh registered media publications and hundreds of news channels. For those in West who claim free press is eroding in India, these huge numbers would be quite puzzling. PM Modi also jabbed to these certain individuals, both in India and in the West, claiming they have lost connection with people of India, their thought processes, feelings and aspirations. These people also tend to live in their own echo chambers of alternate realities. They conflate their own dissonance with the people with dubious claims of diminishing media freedom. These words definitely are suitable for a certain lot in the Indian media who have since long lost their connect with the ground reality. They were not ready for 2014, they were dumbstruck in 2019, and they are helpless in 2024. The answer to this question was packed with numbers. He mentioned the rapid growth of national highways network, airports, ports, the starting of Vande Bharat trains, etc. Basically how India is seeing development. Quoting PM Modi, there is no contradiction between our physical infrastructure building and our commitment to fight climate change. Now, this is a very important statement according to me. Why? Because climate change is one of the favorite subjects in the West, and necessarily it's critical for the world too. While many developing countries such as China tend to neglect climate in pursuance of economic growth, India has not ignored this important issue. For instance, PM Modi mentioned several steps his government has undertaken for mitigating climate change, such as lighting 10 million homes through rooftop solar program or empowering farmers with solar-powered pumps, be it distributing 400 million energy-efficient bulbs and ensuring 13 million efficient street lights, or having one of the fastest adoption of EVs. Furthermore, India is also well on its way to meet the 500 gigawatts of renewable energy capacity and the climate commitment made in the Paris Conference by 2030, unlike its global counterparts. Simply, PM Modi has stated that only India today offers credible model of how to enhance physical infrastructure and development and yet be at the forefront of mitigating climate change. One of the high points in 10 years of Modi government has been the stellar economic growth, especially the tag of fastest growing economy. On the question of economic growth, PM Modi mentions India's favorable demography, plus how India is venturing in areas like space, AI, green energy, semiconductors and other futuristic technologies, the sectors which will rule the world in the near future. Focusing on Indian youth, he states how the startup culture is flourishing in India with over 1.25 lakh registered startups today, a major improvement from what we had in 2014. Talking about economic growth, he talked how the biggest beneficiaries of India's rapid growth in the last 10 years have been India's poor. Quoting PM Modi, India has run the world's largest poverty eradication drive in the last 10 years and has pulled 250 million people out of poverty. Only 4 nations in the world have a population more than that. Notably, a recent research paper jointly done by UNDP and Niti Aayog had revealed how nearly 250 million escaped multidimensional poverty under BJP-led NDA government from 2013-14 to 2022-23. He further mentions how with robust economic growth, they have been able to run unprecedented welfare schemes. Let me remind, several welfare schemes of the Modi government are immensely popular among Indian masses, such as Ujjwala Yojana, which provides free gas cylinders to BPL families, Ayushman Bharat Yojana, which provides free medical treatment for economically vulnerable families, Jal Jeevan Mission, which has necessitated tap water connections to every corner of India. On the question of religious minorities, he answered, and let me quote, "These are usual tropes of some people who don't bother to meet people outside their bubbles. Even India's minorities don't buy this narrative anymore. Minorities from all religions, be it Muslim, Christians, Buddhist, Sikh, Jain, or even a micro-minority like Parsis, are living happily and thriving in India." Many Western journalists would be dumbfounded when PM Modi mentions every Indian community over this question, as many only tend to focus on just one. Notably, PM Modi has often been accused of being biased with religious minorities, but in fact, and as PM Modi mentioned, the welfare schemes and initiatives launched by the Indian government do not discriminate on basis of religion. China was by far the most mentioned word in all questions by Newsweek, such as competing with China, India-China border in China, and Quad. If we begin with the first one, PM Modi once again showed how brilliant salesman he proves to be when it's about advertising India and the potential within. He doesn't mention China in his answer, but wisely describes how India as a democratic polity and global economic growth engine is a natural choice for those looking to diversify their supply chains. This is basically PM Modi telling every investor, leave China, come to India. On Quad and China, he stated that Quad is not aimed against any country. He further mentions how Indo-Pacific is important not only to the region but also to the world. He says that Quad countries are demonstrating their vision of a free, open and inclusive Indo-Pacific. For those who do not understand geopolitics, this is a subtle jab at China, which has been increasing its hostility in the Indo-Pacific region, which is a center of global trade and commerce. Over the question of border disputes with China, he said, "It is my belief that we need to urgently address the prolonged situation on our borders so that the abnormality in our bilateral interactions can be put behind us. Stable and peaceful relations between India and China are important for not just our two countries but the entire region and world." This is quite a measured and mature response from a country which has a great standing in global affairs. It's almost like PM Modi chiding Xi Jinping and the CCP leaders to put the border disputes away with India and join with New Delhi in fast-changing multipolar world as a fellow Asian power. On Pakistan, PM Modi told about him congratulating the new Pakistani PM and how India has always advocated for advancing peace, security and prosperity in our region in an atmosphere free from terror and violence. When asked to comment on Imran Khan being in prison, the PM refused to comment on Pakistan's internal matters. If you notice, this was the smallest answer to any question. It shows how irrelevant Pakistan has today become for India, especially since the neighboring nation has refused to export terrorism on Indian soil. On this, PM Modi asked the interviewers to visit Jammu and Kashmir and take a look on positive changes in the region. He mentions development happening in Jammu and Kashmir, citing 21 million tourists visiting the region in 2023, and also how after revocation of Article 370 from the region, several events have been held in the valley, such as Formula 4 racing event, Miss World and G20 meetings. In short, Jammu and Kashmir, which was once a hotbed of terrorism, is now developing and slowly turning into a normal region just like other parts of India. On Ram Mandir, PM Modi stated how the name of Shri Ram is imprinted on our national consciousness. His life has set the contours of thoughts and values in our civilization. His name echoes across the length and breadth of our sacred land. He specifically mentioned his 11-day special ritual, which involved him visiting the places that carry the footprints of Sri Ram. Now, if you do not remember, during the inauguration of Ram Mandir, several Western media outlets had reported it negatively. In his answer, PM Modi has once again showed how proud and lucky he feels to have been part of this ceremony. This further cements his image of the unapologetic Hindu, which is adored and respected by Indians. The last question was on leadership. For many, this might be uninteresting, but if you look upon PM Modi's words, you can understand why he is today the most popular leader in India. Let me quote PM Modi: "Listening is an important quality for leadership. I am God gifted with this quality and I have also cultivated it. Another quality that I have is that I'm always in the moment. I'm not distracted by phone calls, messages, or anything else. When I'm doing something, I'm 100% involved and engrossed in that task." These words explain why he has such a flawless track record in governance. He further claims to have spent at least a night in around 80% of India's districts. Another reason he tells of having direct connection with everyone. Talking about his monthly radio program, Man Ki Baat, PM Modi says of getting hundreds of thousands of physical letters every month. He further says how negativity has a low shelf life. One needs to constantly churn out negativity for it to remain in people's mind. On the other hand, positivity is perennial, claiming that Man Ki Baat is a medium for him to gain positivity from society and amplify it. Since 10 years, if you have closely followed PM Modi through his public appearances, meetings, photos, he has exacerbated a never-ending energy which is optimistic to its very core. So this interview was quite insightful on PM Modi's opinions and thoughts. Interestingly, several so-called Western journalists are not happy after this interview. Hannah L.S. Peterson, the South Asian correspondent of The Guardian, said on X that this is not an interview. This is a Modi press release. Interestingly, this is the same journalist who recently did a story on supposed assassinations of Pakistani terrorists by Indian spies with dubious sources. Furthermore, Indians on X pointed out how there were grammatical, logical, and factual errors in the Guardian piece. So, Hannah criticizing another news outlet is nothing but hypocritical.